distinguished guests, respected dignitaries, senior officials, and my dear colleagues. Good evening and a very warm welcome to one and all present here. It gives me immense pleasure to welcome you all to the 39th edition of our prestigious annual Sir Purushotam Das Thakur Das Memorial Lecture. I am Harshala Kamath, Senior Executive, Examination, IIBF, and your host for this segment. Today, we are elated to have such an esteemed gathering as we honor the legacy of a visionary in India's financial independence and resilience while collectively pursuing excellence in banking education and engaging with insights shaping the future of banking and finance. With that, ladies and gentlemen, I now request Mr. Biswaketan Das, CEO IIBF, to kindly escort our speaker, Dr. Rabi Narayan Mishra, Director, College of Supervisors, RBI, to the dais. Please welcome them with a huge round of applause. I now request Mr. Biswaketan Das, CEO IIBF, to welcome Dr. Rabi Narayan Mishra, Director, College of Supervisors, RBI, with a bouquet of flowers. Thank you, sir. Today, through this memorial lecture series at APABI 2024, we are privileged to carry forward the timeless influence of Sir Purushotam Das Thakur Das. His unwavering commitment to building a sound, self-reliant economic foundation and fostering robust economic policies have set steadfast standards of integrity for the financial sector. This lecture series aims to provide a platform to bring together leaders who advance knowledge, promote sound economic practices, and inspire innovative thinking in banking and finance. I now request Mr. Biswaketan Das, CEO IIBF, to kindly deliver the welcome address and speak a few words about our founding member, Sir Purushotam Das Thakur Das, and this annual memorial lecture.
Thank you, Ursula. Good evening to all the delegates here. My hearty welcome to Sri Rabi Narayan Mishra, a distinguished central banker, and he has accepted our invitation to join here for this prestigious lecture. This is one of the lectures IIBF conducts every year in the memory of Sir Purushotam Das Thakur Das Tandon. I will take all of you back to India's pre-independence time, 1920s and 1930s, where India was under British domination, and there was a surge of nationalism as far as industry, business, and banking are concerned. Imperial Bank of India, in the present form now, it serves India as the State Bank of India and Pakistan, State Bank of Pakistan. It started in 1925. Punjab National Bank, 905. Like so many banks started during those period just to bring nationalism. Industries also try to come up in India, pre-independence India, just to have self-reliant, not to depend more on Manchester or the Western countries. So at that point of time, there are few visionaries like G.D. Birla, like Purushotam Das Tandon, who has guided this. One of these is Mr. Purushotam Das Thakur Das Tandon. He was basically a businessman, but also a visionary. He joined with G.D. Birla to create Federation of Indian Chamber of Commerce and Industry, which still exists in its present form. And he was also the sheriff of Mumbai at that time. And all of us know RBI was formed in 1935 based on a report of Hilton Young Commission. So Sir Purushotam Das was also a part of Hilton Young Commission. So if you see all these legacies of Purushotam Das Thakur Das Tandon, we are also proud that he was associated with the formation of IIBF along with all the bankers. Our first branch started in the Imperial Bank of India Mumbai building, which still exists in the Fort area of Mumbai in the present form of State Bank of India. So he continued to be the member of our governing council till his death, 1961. And that we have acknowledged his contribution for the development of IIBF, development of Indian industry, development of Indian banking system, and we have constituted a trust for this lecture, annual lecture. And this is, to my great pride, I should say that this is the 39th PTML lecture. And I thank all of you for your patient hearing throughout the day. And I also see that the topic chosen by Mr. Narayan Mishra, from fixing points of instability to setting a state of resilience, making financial entities distress immune and future ready. I think it is not only applicable to India, it will be applicable to the entire world. Sir, with us, we have representatives from 11 countries from Asia Pacific Union. So all of us are eager to hear you. Thank you. I think.
Thank you, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, as the financial sector faces challenges from economic volatility, technological advancements, and regulatory shifts, the need to build resilience in financial institutions has never been more important. The topic for today's PTML lecture is a crucial and pertinent one, titled From Fixing Points of Instability to Setting a State of Resilience, Making Financial Entities Distress, Immune, and Future Ready. Through this lecture, we look forward to exploring how financial entities can go beyond reacting to instability and instead set a proactive foundation for long-term resilience. To dive deeper into this topic, we are honored to have with us Dr. Rabi Narayan Mishra, Director of the College of Supervisors. This college is a capacity-building institution established by RBI with an initiative to equip functionaries in supervision, regulation, and financial stability in order to reduce the distress in the financial systems. Dr. Mishra has extensive experience in financial supervision, having served as the Executive Director at the Reserve Bank of India, where he oversaw the regulations of banks and non-banking financial companies. He has also contributed significantly to macroeconomic policy, risk management, and financial stability in India and abroad. With a PhD in economics and a postdoctoral research fellow at the economics department of Harvard University, Dr. Mishra is also the author of Systemic Risk and Macroprudential Regulations. He has worked as a member in the boards of 2 commercial banks and has also had the opportunity to closely work with International Monetary Fund and Bank of International Settlements too. His views are invaluable in helping us understand the journey from reactive management of financial instability to proactive resilience building, aiming for a future where financial entities are not only stable but also robust against unforeseen challenges. Without further ado, please join me in welcoming to the dais Dr. Rabi Narayan Mishra to deliver the 39th Sir Purushotam Das Thakur Das Memorial Lecture.
Namaskar. Namaste with a smile. This is my signature line as a motivational speaker. I start with that. So this reminds me of a day, I think in the late 90s, EF had invited me to receive the Golden Jubilee Scholarship. I think in 1997 or something. I am one of the recipients. From 1997 and now getting an invitation to speak for this lecture, which is very well known in India and abroad. So I feel very proud and lucky. So now let us, since we are already shortage of time, so for this, of course, I thank IAVF and the Chief Executive Officer, so who really was the ex-Chief General Manager of SBI and knows what kind of new things are happening in India in the arena of supervision and regulation. So maybe he thought, so I'll do justice to this. And this, in fact, is the kind of message which was given by me in my book, which was told, which is being revised. So let me first explain the topic. The first portion is the current kinds of surveillance of the current stance of surveillance of financial fixing of instability wherever they are. And as you may be knowing, stability has no meaning in the literature. Absence of instability is the meaning. So we have to deal with what is the definition of instability. So may I just go and move and talk, because I'll be more comfortable. And what I am recommending, rather we have already practiced to a certain extent in our surveillance system in India, which other surveillance systems in India are kind of replicating or rolling through College of Supervisors. So College of Supervisors is to upskill supervisors and regulators not only in India, for your kind information, all your supervisors from APAC region also they come there for upskilling. So this is one side of the story, which we are doing on behalf of the Reserve Bank of India. But the other side is, the message also should go to the supervised, or what we call regulated entities. And in that sense, IIVF kind of institution have an immense role to play in propagating this new idea across the world, so that the world will be the safest place and the citizens can sleep in peace. So in that context, I draw your kind attention, because that is in IIVF, they have the responsibility and they are doing it so well, and I can appeal in the beginning, and you should also do in your respective countries. Your supervisors have already been little upskilled on this. You should also carry the message. So I will start. There is a whole genesis of why crisis happens in financial systems. So let us start from the nearest. That is the last global financial crisis. 4 or 5 lessons which we tried to learn, research and work on. I will first discuss quickly. So then I will go over how we can make our financial entities. In India we call them banks, NBFCs and urban cooperative banks, distress immune, so that we will not allow a term called crisis to be in the literature of crisis, because we will be able to smell distress in advance so much so that no system will be allowed to go to that extent. So that is the theme. So let us start with this. What is instability? I will not strictly go with that. So this I have just, it is a gift to all of you who are present here, with the hope that you will also try to speak it somewhere by deleting my name and writing yours. So I give you the patent as well, because it's a new concept. It should be propagated all over the world, as our governor has told. No, you need not change that. So I will discuss that. So I think this is being gifted to everybody. So let us not bother about that. So instability, as I told you, absence of instability is stability. So what is instability? A huge difference between the historical average of the movements of sensitive variables. I will immediately pad it with an example. Like suppose net NPA is a sensitive variable. So it is ideal suppose at 3. In a particular bank, if the historical average is 3 and now it has moved to 7 or 8%, so it is a drastic departure. So that means it is entering into a point of instability. So the solution is we have to find ways how to fix it then and there. So for that point of time, a particular point of instability or stress gets removed. Then we forget about that till another point of instability comes. And even in our health check system, all over the world, which has been found flawed, and India is the pioneer in this to switch over to a different stance of supervision, which I will be telling you. All over the world till now, at the end of the year, after the balance sheet is ready, supervision starts. To point out, so these are the elements you had last year, which banks know them themselves. We only end up by giving some suggestions, so how it should be controlled as fast as it possible. Okay, so this was proved to be hugely flawed in global financial crisis. I will tell that. So what are the lessons we learned? Then I will go to resilience. First is stability breeds instability. A sustained state of stability is a precursor of something wrong going to happen. So in my research study, it shows a sustained state of stability will end up with some problems in 16 to 8 months of time. So now you will ask me, if all you knew it can happen in 16 months, why was not it implemented in India? That is because it was anecdotally experienced and perceived, but there was no mechanics and tools to measure and manage them. Now that AI and ML, I am linking it here. This is the right time to tell at the end. You all knew there are mechanics and tools to do things which were not conceivable before few years. So now with AI and ML, we are able to do it. We have already been able to do it. Second is financial innovations. Whenever there are financial innovations, new financial products are created. Same was the case in US. And let me tell you, IIBF had given me the scholarship to visit 6 countries to study a financial product called securitization and credit derivatives to be implemented in India. That was the darling of the heart of the whole financial world. Okay, so I am really, how much we have come back in history. And the next time, after 10 years when I went to Harvard, that had become the villain of the financial sector. The same product, which was a hero, becomes a villain in 10 years. So that is the beauty of the race, the pace of cyclicalization, which has happened over the years. Once in a century, a crisis used to happen. Then it came down to once a decade. And now you don't know when it will come. While I am speaking, there may be some problem somewhere. So naturally, the pace has compelled the researchers to think of the tools and how to address this huge pace of cyclicalization. Then systemic risks important. So that is the book's heading about. So the wrong idea was, if I am individually strong, I take care of myself. So suppose there are 3 banks. A is strong, B is strong, C is strong. Then we assume the system is strong. Wrong. 2 plus 2 is 4. which they did not have. Okay? Now, so instability, stability and resilience. That point of time, we started learning there should be a stability, should pursue financial stability, stability of the system. But that is where you should not stop. COVID gave us another reason. Not only you should take care of your health, you have to take care of your neighbor's health as well, or else you will catch it back. Correct? COVID gave that lesson. So that means we must move to a state of resilience. And let us try to define what is the difference between stability and resilience. And we, the supervisors and banking heads, it is high time to start moving from a state of stability, pursuing a state of stability, which is managing instability, to a state of resilience. And what is that in a simple sentences I will tell. As I told you, a point of instability erupts, actions are taken to fix it. So it gets resolved. So stability comes. Resilience is entirely a different concept. It is very loosely and synonymously used in the literature as synonymous. It is wrong. So that is why I am emphatically trying to define what is the clear difference between a state of stability and a state of resilience. I will start from definition like this. Sustained state of stability is resilience. And when I try to fix one point of instability to reach a state of stability, I do it in such a manner that particular element doesn't recur. Plus, I should also take care, envisage the possible points which might come in the next 10 years, and I fix them in a manner next year, 10 years, there will not be no vast divergence between in the movements of sensitive variables of banks and non-banks, financial companies. So it is a hugely different concept. Correct? You agree with me? So this is a short-term one. That is a long-term one. So this is a pre-mortem, this is a post-mortem analysis, surveillance of the financial system which we all are doing. What I am talking of is we should move to a pre-mortem kind of surveillance in which I know for sure what are likely to going to happen, and I have tools and techniques at hand to address them as soon as they appear. First I expect they will not appear. Even if they appear, I have tools and to see that the fire is doused instantly. So is it not the solution? Is it not what we want? Like in COVID situation, I remember when our Honorable Prime Minister talked about kada. Kada means some syrup, homemade syrup you drink to boost your own resilience so that you will not even catch cold. So that is a solution. Or popping up pills whenever you have cold is the solution. So if those who want a state of resilience of her body will start morning work, yoga, pranayam, dieting, so that they will never have that. But those who are in favor of setting instability to stability will take paracetamol 250. And if it again worsens, Dolo 650. And if it is not there, ring up the ambulance and go for MRI of your lungs and find Queen Corona sitting there. Correct? There are two different things at all. So we are at a stage where we don't want to see another Queen again in the state of financial sector. Okay? So the next point I will explain. What is different? What is different which prompts us to change our whole strategy? Difference are some very important ones. All through, we only learned in our MA classes and banking trainings known risks. So we know how to handle them. And that is what RBI does, supervisors. At the end of the day, year, bank would have some provisions against contamination of assets. Then RBI supervisor, I was there, continuously for 10 to 15 years. I have almost seen the health checkup of all the banks. And many, those who are AGMs then now have become CEOs. I am continuing. I crossed 41st year in Reserve Bank of India, breaking the record. Okay? So naturally I am an institutional memory myself. Okay? So you should recommend and help me to write the book on Indian financial system, the correct one. Not the sponsored ones. I have been reading. I cannot deal with them because I am still under the code and conduct of Reserve Bank of India. Okay. But the new things came up. Non-unknown risks. And finally, with COVID, unknown risks. Non-unknown risk means what? I know there is a risk, but I continue to ignore or convinced myself to ignore it doesn't exist. The best example is climate risk. The day credit appraisal standard started in banks, they knew there is a risk out of change in climate. Correct? Bankers? Can you appraise any credit without analyzing what is the climate scenario of that region? Am I right? So if that is so, how can banks say the RBI circular on climate risk is awaited? We have not done anything. So when I was coaching CEOs, I was telling this is wrong. But why then you will ask then why you are 10, 15 years you tolerated? Reason is, then they will ask, sir, we know, but how do we measure it? We also feel same way. We know. That is why it is a known but unknown risk. And unknown because we are not able to measure it. And what cannot be measured, our textbook says, cannot be managed. And if we ask all CROs, any CROs here, I ask them while coaching them, what do you do now? We manage risks. So then next question if I ask, can you measure IT cyber risk? Can you measure reputation risk? Can you measure climate risk? No. Then how do you claim that you have been able to manage? So the definition of CRO should change. They can only monitor risk, they cannot manage it. So that is why you will be glad to learn the only department on earth which is called risk monitoring department. I was head of that as well. That is called risk monitoring department in RBI. So I was surprised when I took over. Everywhere they say risk management department. Here why it is monitoring? Past history, when department was created, 2 board meetings were extensively it was discussed. Then it was proved, since you cannot measure it, you cannot call yourself as managers of risk. You are monitors of risk. Anyway, all these I have told CROs, CCOs, CEOs, heads of audit and CISOs over 2 years in half day coaching only. Because it is their job to train themselves. No? Or IIBF jobs to train bankers and all. RBI and supervisor cannot do it. We have to train supervisors and regulators and financial stability managers. So that is why it is your job. Your supervisors have been sensitized on this. And lastly is unknown risk. What is unknown risk? If you get to know that it doesn't remain unknown. Correct? So it is your judgment. No AIML can do it. But AIML also can do if they have a genesis and calculation of 200-300 centuries, 200-300 years of episodes of banking crisis, then some idea can come. Or else it remains unknown. Then why do I define it? Because if there is a risk, there has to be a cushion of capital. 8 or 9% is just illustrative. It has nothing to do with how much you should keep. But we get complacent by knowing RBI already 1% more in India, we are 10, we are happy. This is not correct. Riskiness or requirement capital is institution specific. It is environment specific. Risk is a static or a dynamic concept. It is dynamic. Correct? If risk is dynamic, risk appetite framework has to be dynamic. If risk appetite framework is dynamic, then capital allocation exercise has to be dynamic. So meaning thereby, as and when any risk appears or disappears, there will be a rewiring of the whole architecture of risk appetite framework and capital allocation done by whom? Not supervisor. by the banks themselves because they know it better. Like RBI cannot say how much incremental risk a particular risk will do to SBI and RBL. Are they same? The appetite of risk by State Bank of India could be vastly different from the appetite of risk of RBL. So a regulatory guideline should not be expected there. Board of the bank has to see through an example I am telling. Popular example. Unsecured advance. The share of unsecured advance to total advances post-COVID was seen to have gone very high at the end of the balance sheet year. What I am telling is exactly opposite. Before switching over to start advancing unsecured loans, a strategy document should have been prepared by the board because post-COVID there is no demand from corporate sector and to fix our earnings we have to move to retail. Nothing wrong. It is a perception of what business we should do by optimizing your risk. But it should have started from that. If I get out of corporate risk by this much, I will reduce suppose a risk by X and go into retail this much, then I may increase X plus Y. So Y is the incremental risk. So that should have been put in risk appetite statement. Accordingly, you should have kept capital, then you would have gone ahead. Because it was not done, RBI had to force them by raising risk weight. So because the patient doesn't obey, so doctor has to force with family members, a surgery has got to be done. Because many of us don't agree for surgery, no. So but is this the way it should be done? So to my personal opinion, no. Bank board should have decided that when you are moving from a business strategy X to Y, you should first assess what are the risk implications. Okay? Then rewire to risk appetite framework. Then allocation. But just because if you put it in the risk appetite framework, you have to keep capital or supervisor will object. We are trying to ignore everything. We know, but they are worried. If I put it here, then I have to keep capital. Then already there is shortage of provision by RBI supervision. And there will be more shortage of provision. So in my view, before you ask this question, will not all banks become net loss? If you provide for all these, I am answering beforehand. Let it happen. So like asset review, once it has to be cleaned. Anyway, I forgot to tell the disclaimer. It has nothing to do with Reserve Bank policies. It is about my book, which some way has been done and now being propagated. So this is my, then only you can think of resilient. Because now what is happening? The unknown risks are hanging like a Damoclean sword. I am not sure myself whether I am resilient or not. Because this is the gap which is always hidden. I know and decided not to know. I know and decided to forget. But inside I know what is my weakness. Banks only know, not regulator. Correct? So next. Then regulation. Resilience. So there are three kinds of resilience we should achieve. So again some new things here. Till now literature is confusing the word financial resilience as organizational resilience. Financial resilience only if the realizable value of your assets once contaminated is able to meet the liabilities which are hanging on you, then you are in a position of solvency and that is called financial resilience. Okay? And if you take into account known, unknown, that also is a mystery. Whether already, so we are in a financial resilience. But let us for the time being forget about that because supervisor, regulator, everybody is bothered about financial resilience. There are two other kinds of resilience. One is operational resilience. The third is, I call it functional resilience. It is not in the literature, it will come slowly. Because if any word, like I used a word, nobody protested here. Cyclization. So somebody in some country asked, is it a word in English literature? I told, I don't know. Because last 4 years my book is selling abroad. Nobody objected, means it became a new word. Pre-mortem. I don't know. Somebody asked, post-mortem we have heard. You are telling pre-mortem. I told the same thing. Pre-mortem I used in 2019 in my book. Nobody is objecting. Everywhere I am telling. That means pre-mortem has become a word. So similarly, new things have to be devised. Mantra is an Indian word. Now whole world uses mantra. Is mantra of success. So it evolves. So operational resilience and functional resilience. I will explain. Why I am telling? Because I will not name the banks. In a panel discussion which I was moderating, every year in College of Supervisors we have a global conference. So the last one, the most attractive one is I moderating 3 bank MDs. One public sector, private sector and foreign bank. So last year I asked what you have done to smell distress in advance after governor telling his speech for a dozen times. Except the foreign banker who told something. The other private and Indian banker, they were telling the same thing. We have got a data recovery center in Hyderabad, one more. They are different things. That is what you should not have, we are telling. And you are telling that we have. And how I will tell. That is how I will end. How they are different. So that is not operational resilience. Operation means what? What is operational risk? The substantial risk arising from people, product and critical processes. Processes means then you cannot manage that risk. All processes are risky. Critical processes. So meaning thereby, I have to make product, people and processes resilient. Correct? Which again means I will create my system in such a manner. The possible risks that used to happen from these 3 characters. People, product. What is the risk out of people? Conduct risk. PNB. PNB is a conduct risk. It is, Yes Bank is a corporate risk, board members or CEO, no? So it has nothing to do with financial resilience. So I club it under operational, functional risk. First let me complete operational risk. So little different, not only IT cyber. Now it is synonymously used as if operational resilience is IT cyber and technology risk handled, no? Third party risk is also there. No bank can manage anything of these things themselves. And another risk I have added to the literature, you teach bankers, you teach that. That is, risks have also got interconnected. Interconnected risk is a risk. What is that? If you analyze or try to measure credit risk, there is at least 20% impact of market risk on credit risk. If interest rates rises, which is a market risk, NP also will rise. If GDP falls, NP also will rise. So there is interconnectedness. There is intersectoral, intrasectoral, inter-economy, inter-risk connectedness as well. So that is a new risk. Have we tried to bother? Then technology risk, IT cyber risk is again by mistake shown as one. They are 2 different things. IT cyber risk is omnipresent. Technology risk is if instead of writing board memorandums, I give lending through technology platforms. So I use a technology, which I don't know. There are technology firms who are producing it. So I hire him to do it. No problems. But like blood transfusion, so you see how we are violating common sense. When a patient has, his blood group is B plus, we ask for B plus group or any blood. Any blood we don't ask, because there will be transfusion risk there. He will die. B positive patient is given B, O. He will die. Similarly, you are hiring some guy, that is also itself a company. So we have to be clear, am I importing or transfusing his risks also into mine? So then I will also die. So that is called technology risk, not IT cyber risk. So while I be for any teacher, so I am also a teacher. I proudly call myself as a teacher. And in RBI also, Dr. Rangarajan calls me Professor Mishra. He doesn't know that I am an RBI officer, he knows. He was my governor. So that is how I am. I am known as a headmaster. Behind my back, RBI officers call me headmaster. So, but I feel very proud about that. So the best job one can do is a teaching job, coaching job. No. Guru is important than parents. This is why. Then next comes functional resilience. Because this is called organizational resilience in the literature. I am telling organizational resilience in the subject. Part is functional. Functional is what? Did you know what is the first risk as per RBI supervisory format? Board oversight risk. Corporate governance standard. Assurance standards. Ability of the CEO or CRO or CCO to discharge his duties in the changing dynamics. These are all functional resilience. How motivated people, cultures. All these are in literature. But we have never thought that we should make them resilient. Because if a group of people who are very honest today and become dishonest tomorrow, then they will bring down the organization. So their mind and attitude also should be resilient through, again, IIBF kind of institution. Because RBI doesn't teach bankers. So it is your job. So I am giving you areas where you should change your strategy than when I studied CIB. That was known risks. Now two other facets should be added. Known, unknown risk. And you will get to know them in January, February. Revised edition of the book is coming by covering all these. So syllabus should little change in a shift from stability to resilience. So functional resilience essentially means a very intelligent, agile board, committee members, senior management, and people. Correct? And people also. PMC Bank. So I had signed the death warrant. Why if you put one single word, conduct it only. By the CEO himself. CEO and chairman of the board both mixed and tried to bring it down. So there how do you solve? So your financial resilience and operational resilience will not work. When MD and chairman, they mix together and try to bring it down. Their required is functional resilience. So we have to find ways how to find out how resilient they are. Board, its committees. Even I can add institutions like teachers, teaching institutions like IVF, how resilient they are. What is their current syllabus? Are they teaching what they are required to teach in the changing environment? All these are part of functional resilience. Not only supervisors should be taught. College of Supervisors was created for these resilience, to supervisors and regulators. Exactly the same should be done by IABF and some other training institution. Not IBA. IBA don't train. No, to my understanding. Okay. So this is also new. Now the most important one. I will find it difficult to explain, but I will explain. And I have explained it in a chapter in the book when it will come in February or March. The difference between crisis management framework, which still we are doing, and the one I am telling we should do, that is called smelling distress in advance. So there exact paradigm shift in the change. So I will tell you in an example. Firefighting. Last 100 years, my building has not caught fire, but still I have firefighting drill. I have carbon dioxide in any floor. It has to be there. And that means I have certain investment on crisis management framework. This is the current one. So I am telling, now that I have mechanics and tools, I can invent or create fire-resistant materials to build buildings. So then, my investment on crisis management should be reduced to 5%, and 95% I am upfront. Today I will invest on fire-resistant materials. Which one is better? First or second? Fire resistant ones. So they are entirely two different things. So what we are doing is we are trying to add on to crisis management framework again. Unnecessarily investing on a thing which we should not invest on. It is time we have the wherewithal to look for techniques and tool in which I can smell distress in advance. Now you will ask, you just gave a lecture or you have also solutions. Correct? So our supervisors now are equipped with the answers also. Some of the answers, agenda for this. So I will just quickly read out. I will not explain because I will end. Like in instability literature, some problems were fixed. Let me quickly tell. Like on regulations, capital, liquidity, leverage, all these are fixed to a state of stability, not resilience. Now let me tell you some points, some mechanics and tools through which banks can boost resilience into themselves so that they can smell their own distress in advance and make themselves resilient. So citizens can sleep in peace and regulatory intervention and resources will be to the minimum. Some things have already been done. We have moved from sector agnostic to sector specific regulation. I means banks. I am talking like a bank CEO now. I must understand what new risk I am taking. Or I means board, let us see. Who is making money from them? And with what incentives? What risks they carry, including systemic risk identification. And if such risks are there, they need to be able to intervene well in time. Means now I assume there could be a risk. My job doesn't end there. In the extreme eventuality of that risk manifesting after a year, I should be ready with that weapon in my arsenal, not the current crisis management framework. Then greater control over pro-cyclical features in the housing markets. Shifts in loan to value ratios. Yourself. Now the regulation comes in when it becomes uncontrollable. So macroprudential regulation will be fixed by the regulators. So I am telling something else. Let me understand my body first. Why should I bother doctor losing his sleep over my health? So that is a dream I am seeing, where no need for any doctor for my health is there, for my bank to run. Too complex to fail banks. Not so much size of the bank. Size doesn't matter. Like SBI is in size wise the biggest. But complexity wise, their board should understand about that, not about only size. Risks, why it is done? Risks has a very bad nature. Risk and yield, both. Yield will move where it is more, irrespective of it is good or bad. And risks will simply migrate to where it is not properly assessed. Risk also has a tremendous sense. He is looking, this bank risk assessment is strong. This sector risk assessment is strong. Real estate, no risk assessment. So risk moves to real estate sector. So we have to understand the understanding of risks and the nature of yield themselves. Okay? So that is the thing is not being done. So retooling supervisory armory, let me skip. I have given you the note. What supervisors should do, I have written down there and we have already done. Now what bankers should do, I will just tell. Honing resilience to make the entities distress immune. This also I will read out too quickly. Heads of risk, compliance and audit. Their responsibility is joint and several. Their end is resilience. Each is working with a different mean to achieve that end. Correct? But what they feel? So as if they are isolated, doing for themselves. Meaning thereby, compliance officers should give a one-pager to the board. What all are required to make resilience possible. Head of audit will tell from his resilience possible. CR also to head up. Okay? So that means majority, whatever they tell, if we do this, it can achieve resilience, and that is the proper policy by the board. Then similar model risks, another things. So that is another lesson from value at risk. All banks did it. Man, commonsensically wrong. Because whenever interest rates are falling, treasury contributes the maximum to the income. In different securities, of course. Suppose in the same security, every treasury buy and sell, what will happen? All banks will crash. That is same model risk. So it should be done in a bank specific model. Then how do I justify the same model? You don't know his model, he doesn't know his model. So they may wrongly also use it. Again, IIBF's role. Bring all bankers to same platform. Tell them what are the possible risks. What are the possible risk models available in the market? What are the strengths and weaknesses? We have told supervisors. IIBF has to tell bankers. So that without compromising on confidentiality, we should not do this then. He is doing, so I should not do the same thing. Then everybody will fall. Then what I told, dynamizing risk appetite framework, as I told. Devise suitable earning indicators. Here all those who are involved in CXO's job, India has 52 variables. Any model anyone prepares, he uses some of them, very liberally. And in the banks, I was in the board, PNB and Indian Bank, I have seen, whatever model NPA is a variable. NPA is a lead indicator or a lagged indicator. So how can you a lagged variable in an early warning indicator? So I have devised in my paper a new effective early warning system which we have used in DOS and it is in my book. And all banks have been advised by me. Do your banks. RBI or any supervisor cannot say what should be variable for your, suppose real estate. A bank doesn't have 5% more real estate. Why should he do that? So you have to only decide your variables and your models. That is the point I am making. But I have inspected 100 banks in my life. So investment policy, treasury policy, if I delete the name of the banks, they are the same. I can prove it. I have all investment policies copies with me. I am the inspecting officer. I have checked it. It is all same. Bank X cut ke bank Y. They share each other, CROs, each other's policy and without bothering about whether that variable is there or not. Anyway. And measure, most importantly, being able to measure interconnectedness. So few more interesting ones. Learn to improve immunity from endogenous and exogenous risks. Advice number 1. Advice number 2. Increase research to identify incipient risks. So you have to recruit data scientists who know econometric modeling as well as economic analysis. If you have money, hire 3 guys for each. If you don't have one, we don't have. All of these gentlemen have told me they have enough money to pay for 3 people's salary. But we don't do. And why we don't do also, I will conclude with that. Take proactive, prompt corrective actions which is under place to nip them in the bud. So I have a definition provided. If it happens, I will do like this. But I don't have a definition, I will not let it happen. Are they not 2 different things? Yes or no? If it happens, I have a solution. I am saying I will not let it happen. There is another solution. Which solution is better? So we don't think of that. That is the way we should move. Keep sufficient provisions in sync with worst case scenario, not the best case scenario. Now our provision is best case scenario. It should be worst case, taking into account known unknown and unknown unknown risks. Because light is not allowing me to read, so I have to read like that. Learn to estimate incremental capital requirements and to meet them. And finally, strengthen assurance functions. And I have a punchline for the CEOs. So I have written it from the book. My book only I can quote without any copyright issue. So what I will read out the last sentence. CEOs means all. CEOs, CCOs, CROs, board members, everybody need to be asking how they can help their organization build up natural resilience so that they don't need to predict crisis. They have the right system in place to deal with any adverse event as they rise. So now I am asking your question to myself and answering it. You will ask, all these are sounding very commonsensical. No? Then why we didn't do it? Why we are realizing after 100 years we should do it? Reason is, God when created us, human beings, so he had a definition for us. By birth, human beings are born stupid. So human stupidity and greed, will to possess, the second one, and third, irrational. So three characteristics which God has given as gifts to human beings. One is sense of irrationality, sense of stupidity, and sense of greed. So that creates these problems. More than how to manage risks in the bank, we human beings should learn how to contain these three irregularities. Thank you very much. All the best.
Thank you, sir, for your valuable insights. The knowledge shared today serves as a powerful reminder of the need for innovation, adaptability, and most importantly, preparedness required in our financial entities. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we now leave the floor open for the question and answer session. I kindly request you to raise your hand in case you have any questions. Anyone?
Sir, the way you said, our banking has been coming up only with incurred loss approach. And the way you are telling, we should go for loss. But there are a lot of challenges. Correct. How to predict is my problem. Yes, risk can come. It is 24/7. But risk, the incurred loss is historic. From there, I gain my experience and I forecast. This is what we have been doing. But you are giving a totally paradigm shift. I should, if that be the case, even 2008 people should have forecasted or predicted subprime crisis. So what is your take?
No, that is why I indicated, because do it immediately. So again, like asset quality review, and it is not also immediately required. Resilience is not attained in 1 year. Resilience of my body, that is why debate has started well before this is implemented. Okay, so that 4 or 5 years, so banks need to have this infrastructure to know it. And once you know and you know how to fix it, capital is not required. It is not like NPA, what is contaminated you have to withdraw. Once I ask a question, like our new questions are what? Whether you are able to identify your vulnerable businesses. Okay? You say yes. And show me it has been. So then why you have to keep capital? No. Now if you do, you have to keep because you have not done. So I am telling a futuristic thing. And question number 2, whether board has assessed and expected known, unknown and unknown risk. Yes. What will be the incremental? It need not necessarily rise because risks which will evaporate and some risk which will add. Net need not be positive. It could be less also, but we don't assess. How healthy I am, I do annual health checkup. How healthy my heart is, I do lipid profile. Similarly, I should have use of preventive analytics and early warning indicators to know instantly on an ongoing basis where I am getting weak. So if you do it like this and systems are in place, so then capital is not required. So that is the point I am making. Why CEOs are not doing? It is suspected. If they put in risk appetite framework, they have to necessarily keep capital. Necessarily capital where it is quantifiable. Like loan value, where system is there, not quantifiable. A qualitative judgment also, which is called risk validating exercise, which could have been done by the supervisor, but supervisor does it, there is a problem, moral hazard problem. So one supervisor tells X bank, validated, then anything happens, supervisor's responsibility. Correct? So that is why it is not being done. So it is not necessarily leading to more capital and crisis everywhere. It will lead to more investment, I agree. To that extent, reduction in net profit for few years. But you see at the end point, you are investing 5 per 100 years. How much money? You are investing now 100 and then investing 0, 0, 0, 0 and some 5. So I also feel if you really simulate it, maybe investment also will not be much more while your system will get strong. Exactly like our body. I could have given many examples of body which are very trivial, but then you can understand it better. Like in my body, how much I spend if I learn yoga and pranayama.
Sir, the problem is that, if you remember, go back to 1999.
Problem, that is the two words we have to forget. One is problem, one is crisis.
Sir,
I forget to tell. Crisis is the word written in the literature. Does it happen like that? Do I get MRI done at the first instant? No. I start with sneezing, distress. Then high temperature, instability. Then crisis. Correct? Similarly, in financial sector health, we should be able to smell distress at that point. And distresses can always be cured by yourself. Like sneezing, I can cure by drinking kada. Or if I am a pranayam guy, I will not catch cold. So which is less cheaper? I may spend some money in going to a naturopath clinic for 1 month paying 1 lakh, but rest of the life I don't have BP and sugar. Is that better? Or I do everything I like and see doctors are there, RBI supervisor is there, Government of India is there. Even if I fall sick, they will give me forbearance, they will give me concession, I will not be allowed to fail. Which approach is better? First you say which one?
Self-regulation is always better. It should not come from somebody.
Regulation, no, that is a different issue. Regulation has to be there. Minus, what is definition of regulation? Human nature is, what I told you, stupid, greed and all. Minus regulation, I will not think if there is any impact of my action on him. So there is a regulation. Example is smoking. A active smoker, he is enjoying his smoking without bothering. The person who is standing beside is also catching that same disease. So regulation is there. You cannot smoke outside. For that purpose, regulation should be there. But regulation, as I told, redefined. We have already gone in India. It was sector agnostic earlier. Now it is sector specific, for which macroprudential regulations have come. That is what the book is about. They have come already. Regulation and a regulation which takes seriously product. I gave you example, cryptos. But that is regulatory and supervision side. Forget about it. What I am telling is your side. IIBF side. It's only one side you advance. Other side is not, things will not improve. That is the point I am telling. I am not telling you tomorrow if you say all banks will be D only rating. But every year our inspecting officer is asking the CEO this question. That is why they are telling going to press. The RBI officers are asking difficult questions now. We are in a question stage and I propagate all over the country. whether it is IIM, wherever, or MBA students. This is the thing you learn now when in your education syllabus, so that you are placed straight away. Now if you import a data scientist or resilience specialist, you have to train him for 6 months by investing money. So if we can do it at MBA level, you recruit it straight. So it is a process. It is not a destination. You cannot say that in 5th year it will happen. But we should start debating this. We cannot use the same medicine what I was using as a child. Can I? Things have changed. Similarly, here is a time, we are at a crossroads. Risks have changed their color, characteristics and contours. Techniques and tools are there to solve it. However, we see they themselves carry risks. There is a conundrum there. Technology came as a savior, AIML. Today all speakers were saying there should be regulation for AIML because there is a risk there also. What I considered as a savior is now becoming also risky. So it's a huge, hazy system. So we just should not debate. We have to do two things. One, educate bankers through institutions like IIBF and get it implemented by supervisors on the field. There is no third solution.
Sir, I have got a question. I am from IBF itself, and we are really thankful to you for the illustrations, proactive approach, and of course, the very type of things that has been taken care of at the College of that is supervisors, and also the stance also that is taken often by the RBI that yes, we should be proactive to the instability crisis in the banking system. But my view is that I wish most of the participants in this particular forum should have been CEOs so that they should have listened to your talk. But we are all trainers.
Yeah, listen to me. I told you CEOs.
No. So just, yes sir, just that yes, just to adopt a proactive approach toward this instability crisis management. But my experience says that the experience of working in the bank says that most of the reactions of the banks are reactive and these are not proactive to the crisis. Even in fact, once the RAR is pointed out, if the RAR points out certain deficiencies in the system of the bank, then only they will take the steps. And this also emanates at the board level. That is the I think misfortune of the banking system that we are having. So what is your suggestion for getting it popularized at the top bank level?
I already told it is the prime responsibility of IIBF et al. Who all are the other there, I don't know. For me only, we grew with IIBF only. I don't know, NIBF may be there. Some others may be in India. You only. So it is your responsibility to change the pace of dialogue from one corner to other by talking to the people at the lowest. CEOs, I can talk. I cannot talk scale 1, scale 2 officers from RBI side. Once I am out of RBI, I can talk. Correct? So that culture issue, functional resilience, that can be created by talking and giving emphasis at the lower level of bankers and NBFC officers. So it is huge responsibility. Yours. Calcutta region is yours. Chennai is his. You have to change your syllabus. At least 2-3 sessions in a course you have to talk about the shift from stability to resilience in the future. Now you say, how do we know? We will teach you. You will teach the teachers to teach them. Very simple exercise. So that is, I thought I would take this opportunity to give this message across. So then finally, he is there. Calcutta, Madras, 2 people now enlightened. Okay. So like this, it will be done. You will call zonal managers. You will call whoever is doing, zones, circles. Then ask them to tell elsewhere. I have called CROs. Every month, give a lecture to all your risk-related people all over the country. Just like what is happening. And CROs, CCOs, heads of internal audit should take a cup of coffee together informally. Why informally? If it is formal, write a minutes. And once you say minutes, nobody will tell the truth. And we are not bothered about minutes is the issue. My issue is I should know what is the risk and save my bank, not what is written. Okay? So it is your responsible. I shifted back the answer to you only. Okay.
Thank you, everyone. With that, we conclude the question answer session now. May I now invite on the dais Dr. K. Gangadharan, Director Academics, IIBF, to deliver the vote of thanks.
Good evening to one and all. Most respected Honorable CEO of Indian IABF, our chief guest who delivered this 39th PTML lecture in this hall, Dr. Rabi Narayan Mishra, all the invited delegates of this RBI conference from different countries and also delegates from different banks, my colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. Actually, for the last 1 hour, we have been in the world of academics. I also belong to the same discipline of economics. I feel it's actually a talk of eminent professor from abroad, motivating the need for taking the precautionary step, apprehending the danger to come. A sort of resilience is properly dispersed with better life examples from the healthcare area. The way in which we proper precaution to avoid a disaster that may go into our countries, it is actually immersed there. Systemic in nature, we can call it as a type of systemic. So actually the topic we have discussed is financial entities, making financial entities distress immune and future ready. How can we make our financial institutions or entities as banks, NBFA and all other things to be distress free? Because we are anticipating distress any time. That we have been seeing the experience for the last few decades. And he has very, very interestingly pictured the way in which we have to overcome that. And actually we say that the need for governance is the most important precaution that is given. Actually, in my college studies I have seen that Reserve Bank of India is actually a controlling body, is having a carrot and stick policy. Those who are better performing banks will be providing incentive in the form of carrot, and those who are creating trouble will be given big stick. So the carrot and stick policy is not only for the RBI alone, not only for the central banks alone. Each and every bank has to take a maximum precaution to stabilize and sensitize their force, so that the risk that may come can be reduced. So the requirement is that the board of governors, or actually the board of directors, the executive management, and everyone should have some sort of expertise in the area. That is actually a precaution he has indirectly given. So then only we can take the steps to stabilize. Otherwise, instability may come, or even from stability may create instability. So the role is on the part of the management of each and every entities. They have to be very, very adamant in taking steps as and when need arises. Similarly, he has also mentioned the need for taking internal controls. Different types of risk may come inside and outside. Just like exogenous and endogenous. So we have to be very cautious of that. For that we can see that the internal audit and compliance system is actually very important. The watchdogs of this. So that also will be providing a method to act as a resilience system. Similarly, we can see that the laws and regulation that we have to control, that also he indirectly pointed out the need for implementing that. Then different types of business models also. Now we are chasing for profit and growth on, but the profit and growth must be in an inclusive approach, providing the needful banking facilities and services for the needy section. As already mentioned in the earlier session, not development and climate, here we can see that development deprivation. Or we have to see that the financial inclusion for inclusive growth here. So the regulators have to take this step also, providing facility to the rock bottom and to the driven communities or the deprived and vulnerable communities. Then again, we can see that leveraging the technology. That we have seen that the artificial intelligence and machine learning and data-driven technique, all this must be one way or other channelized for the benefit and well-being of the community. At the same time, we should never forget the regulatory aspect of the regulatory compliance. So we can see that he has also provided a better pathway to overcome the resilience or to provide maximum immunity, just like the yoga and health therapy he has mentioned, in order to avoid the taking of antibiotics and chasing to the doctors. Because we can be self-resilient. We can see that the plant improve the immunity from endogenous and exogenous method we have devised. Similarly, proactive action plan, or if there is any proactive things, we have to nip in the bud. From the very beginning itself, we have to identify. That is a responsibility of the board of directors or the management. They have to see that it is not moving. Because some benchmarks are there. If there is a deviation, in the case of the benchmark, we have to identify it from the beginning, and we have to eliminate and eject it at the earliest. So that is also a pathway suggested by him. Then again, the conduct of scenario assessment on an ongoing basis. The regular check must be there. An assessment on regularly basis. Where they are, the benchmark we are catering, or any deviation, any dilution, any erosion is occurring, that we have to test it and augment. So that's also a good pathway or lesson is actually contributed. Then again, we can that the strengthen the assurance functions. The function we have to strengthen the assurance mechanism through the different methods I have mentioned, through the governance, internal controls, the ethics, the business models, delivering technology, whatever may be the other mechanism to stabilize, to remove the instability we have taken into account. All this must be properly implemented, executed, and also to be properly overseen and monitored, so that we will have an economy or a financial entity which is totally different from distress immune, and also it is ready to take up any challenge, or we can call it as a future ready entities. That is the need of the hour, and on behalf of all the participants, and on behalf of the Indian Institute of Banking and Finance, on behalf of all the APA delegates, on behalf of all the participants assembled here, I extend a sincere and heartfelt vote of thanks for our beloved Rabi Narayan ji from RBI for delivering a fantastic lecture. And actually, I think that it will be a better tribute to our this Purushotam Das Thakur Das in his 39th memorial. It's a good tribute. I request all of you to put a big clap for him. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Since it is the last of the session, and moreover, we are actually eager to continue the cultural program, as we have participants from different parts of the world, and they are very much interested to witness this cultural event. I am not taking much time, but even then, since we have not done a separate vote of thanks for each session, because we have been a hectic schedule, because all of them are having a lot of things to share with them, but due to time constraint, all of them have cut short. But even then, a formal vote of thanks is the need of hour. So I would like to enter into my task for delivering the vote of thanks for the whole sessions and whole people assembled here. First of all, we can see that function was done by through video conference by our beloved president of IABF, and also MD and CEO Mr. Adul Kumar Goyal, through his video conferencing. He has motivated us to a great extent the need for stressing the title of our conference, Paradigm Shift in Banking, moving towards a resilient, inclusive and sustainable model. How we can be resilient, how can we inclusive, how can be sustainable? He has given a detailed paraphernalia of attaining the targets. Sir, on behalf of, in your absence, on behalf of IUF and now on behalf of all the delegates assembled here, I extend our beloved vote of thanks for our president of the IBF and also the MD and CEO of this Punjab National Bank. Thank you, sir. Then we can see other important guest speakers, the Sri Gopal Murali Bhagat, and also the Deputy Chief and Executive Indian Bank Association. Okay. Then other speakers like the Mahendora, who are actually the key speakers, and also the Charudala madam from the RBI Executive Director. She also provided a very elaborate and comprehensive talk on attaining this resilient, inclusive and sustainable model. Similarly, we have organized 4 panel sessions, and each guest speakers in the panel and each participants have very immensely contributed for doing justice to the title by focusing the thrust areas in their own topic of discussion, and also pondered different questions. Actually, all of them have, all these four panel session has very effectively nurtured and also pondered with immense information knowledge for the participants and daily from different parts of the country. As we already mentioned that knowledge is the need of the hour, and actually this conference benefited all of us to gain a lot of knowledge where the banking industry is there, where we are moving, and what are the precautions we have taken, not only for the banking industry alone, but also for empowering them with sufficient knowledge and skill and potential to lead the banking industry. For we can say that banking industry is actually an incubation for the bankers. Or banking industry should act as an incubator for the banking professionals to train them properly to contribute for the development of the country in particular. Thank you all. Thank you once again for all the delegates, all the participants, all the media people, all the ladies and gentlemen assembled here, and also the distinguished panelists, and also the delegates who actually enjoyed the last 2 days be the part of this Apavi conference. Thank you one and all. Jai Hind.
Thank you, sir. I now request our CEO, Mr. Biswa, to present a memento to Dr. Rabi Narayan Mishra as a token of appreciation.
Member of Apavi, please come on stage.